Welcome to Tarogan, the tabletop role-playing game. I'm Edmund, I'm the artist and designer of Tarogan, and this is how to play. Tarogan is a tabletop role-playing game. This means one player, the game master, or GM for short, will be in charge of the world, and the other players, or the party, will interact with that world. You can start the game even before setting anything up by giving a dramatic intro. In this intro, make sure, firstly, that you decide who your players are. They could be pirates, assassins, or woodland animals. Secondly, decide what your players' aims are. You might decide that they should smuggle a specific object, or kill a certain hero, or protect an ancient tree. Whatever you do, it's important to give them a target. If they bring their own targets, really good. But if either you as game master or any of your players don't know what to do, the first part of your game will feel a bit slow. After the intro, it's time to give players their characters. For this video, I'm going to have 3 player characters plus me as the GM, but you can have up to 8 players plus the GM. In order to give players their characters, take the player deck. You can then give them a mock tarot card reading. So for example, I'm going to give this person a tarot card reading. Their character's past was the Tower. Their present is Tempest. And their future is Punishment. This character's past was Ruin. Their present is the Fool, and their future is Fortune. And this player's character's past is the Sun. Their character's present is the Vengeful Beast. And their character's future is Void. Then, give each player one of these player info wheels. This will give them a way to track their health points. The number of health points each player starts on is dependent on the number of strength cards they have. So, the yellow player has 2 strength cards. That'll mean it'll be 10 plus 5 for each red card they have. So the yellow player will have 20 maximum health points. The red player will have 15. The blue player, because they have no strength cards, will start with 10 maximum health points. Next, you should give your players health potions. Give players 1 health potion per every 2 players rounded up. So because I've got 3 players today, I'm going to give them 2 potions. If I had 4, I would give them 2, and if I had 5 players, I would give them 3. Finally, for the setup process, bring your players into the game by giving them a plot hook. This could be something like a message in a bottle that they found, or the smell of smoke on the wind. Anything that can get them to act in the world on their own. Sometimes players will attempt something that's not necessarily guaranteed. For that, they will have to make a stat roll. There are 4 stats in Tarogan. Sight, for things like seeing, hiding, or gauging someone's honesty. Speed, for things like jumping, running, dodging. Strength, for breaking things, pushing people over. And cunning, for hitting with attacks, planning, and knowing things. If it's not obvious what stat to use, the game master will decide. So for example, my red player might want to break down a door, so they will have to roll a strength check. So they'll make a dice roll, 13, and they will get to add +3 because they have 1 strength card, meaning that the total is 16. How high did they have to roll? Well, this also depends on what the game master decides. So if something is easy, the game master might ask them to roll a 10 or higher. If it's medium, 13 or higher, hard, 16 or higher, or insanely difficult, 19 plus. If you're not sure, just choose medium, 13 or higher. So I, as the game master, decided it was of medium difficulty to break this door down. So my player will have to have rolled a 13 or higher. They rolled a 16, and so they break the door down. Here's another example. My blue player might want to see inside past the door that the red player's just broken down. For that, they will have to roll sight. I'm going to say that it is hard because it's dark inside this room. They rolled a 10. They will add +3 per blue card they have, so that will be 10 plus 3 plus 3, 16, which is exactly what they needed to succeed. So they are able to see the small goblin hiding in the corner of this room. Now let's talk about combat. Combat's not needed for a game, but it can happen at any time, so it's good to be prepared. The first step of any combat should be to give players this box and ask them to select their minis. This box will have paper minis that you can fold at the bottom and they're able to stand on their own. Whilst they are doing this, you can figure the rest of it out. Now let's look at using monster cards. The first thing you want to look at for a monster card is this section called Power in the bottom right hand corner of each monster card. This will give you roughly how many players that this monster will be equal to. So for example, I might decide to have the Wretch and the Mushroomers. The 1 and the 2 mean that collectively these monsters should be able to take on 3 players, which is perfect for me. I could also decide just to use one monster card that has 3 as its power. Now it's time to give this monster card some flavour abilities. This is done by holding the monster cards upside down and using this bottom text here. So for example, I could choose Anti-Gravity, Force Laser, and Ghost Form. I will arrange these cards like so. So it gives me how the monster damages them and all of its extra abilities in one place. Then you can choose a mini for your monster. For my monster, I'm going to use the Giant Demon. To decide turn order, either choose Speed if the combat started very, very quickly, or Sight if the combat was something more like an ambush. So for my combat, I'm going to say that my Stormcaller ambushed them whilst they were rooting through the ruins. So I'm going to ask all of my players to roll Sight. The monster will use the Sight on their monster card instead of rolling. Lastly, to set up a combat, you will create what we call a battle map. The undersides of the monster cards will have textures on them which you can use as environment. In this combat, the blue player rolled the highest and so will go first. In every player's turn, they can do 3 things. They can use an action, they can use an attack, and they can move. So first of all, an action. For their action, they will use Chains of Doom from their punishment card. This will mean that they will have to roll Sight and get higher than the monster's base sight. If they succeed, it will be dragged 5 meters closer or further away from them. The blue player rolled a 9, so they will add 3 per sight card that they have, as stated by the punishment card. In this instance, 6. So that will be a total of 15. The Game Master will then compare this number to the number on the monster card, which in this case is 13. Therefore, this ability succeeds and the demon is dragged 5 meters towards the player. This can be measured with one of the player info wheels. Then, this player will choose to attack. For this, they will roll Cunning. So they're going to roll a d20. So that is a 4, plus 3 because they have 1 Cunning card, which brings us to a total of 7. The Game Master will then compare this to the number on the AC section of the monster card. In this case, it's 10. This is not high enough to hurt the monster, and so this attack fails. Lastly, the blue player will use their movement to run away from the monster. Because they have no speed cards, their maximum speed is 6 meters, which can again be measured by the player info wheel. Now it's the yellow player's turn. They will choose to move forward with their movement. They will attack with their attack, and that's a 17 to hit. This is high enough to hit the monster, and so the monster will take 5 damage. If the yellow player had rolled a 20 on the dice without modifiers, then they would have got what's called a critical hit. They would have dealt 10 damage instead of 5. Then, with their action, the yellow character will use their ability Create Void from their Void card. This will create a template of darkness on the battlefield wherever they choose within range. So they're going to place it right here so that the giant demon can't see anything. Now it's the monster's turn. They can do 3 things on their turn. They can use all of the attacks, area of effects and auras that are listed in their damage section. They can use any one of their flavor abilities, and they can move. So for this monster, what they will do is they will run towards the blue player and use their 3 attacks. The blue player will have to dodge 3 attacks, which in this instance will use Sight. Natural 20, ignore all damage. 18, again high enough. And 2, they will add 3 per blue card they have, which will bring it up to a total of 8. This is not high enough, and so they will take damage, which in this instance is 3 damage. They can mark down this damage on their player info cards. The monster will then be able to use their AoE attack. So they will throw this AoE through the darkness to these 2 players, and it will hit both of them. Both of these players will have to roll speed to dodge the attack. So the yellow player will roll. That will be 9. In this instance, they will add their speed modifier, which for the yellow player is +3, bringing it up to a total of 12. They needed a 13 to succeed, and so they will take damage. In this case, they will take 6 damage. The red player rolls a 17, and they will add +3 because they also have a speed card, bringing it to a total of 20. That means that the red player will take 0 damage. Lastly, the monster will use their flavor ability of anti-gravity. This means that everyone within the radius of 4 meters will have to roll a strength check. So the blue player will roll a 6, and they do not get to add anything because they have no strength card. This will mean that they will be knocked 3 meters back into the river here, and they will start sinking. The yellow player will again also roll strength. They rolled a 7. They will add 6 because they have 2 strength cards, bringing it up to a total of 13. A 13 is exactly what the yellow player needed to resist this effect. If a player runs out of health, a few things will happen. Firstly, they will be given a lingering injury. This is one of these cards, and it's chosen at random. So this player will have gotten a leg wound. Then you will choose the section of the player info wheel with the 3 red blood tokens. And lastly, give them a mortal wound card. This will give them 3 blood points, which they can spend to make a full turn, and will lose a blood point if they receive any damage in any other way. If a player runs out of blood points, they will turn this card around. This will give them one last turn to have a final stand, after which their story will be over. There is no coming back from this. So that is everything that you need to know in order to play a game of Tarogan. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and I hope you enjoy.